Good day, everyone. This is Rashaki Maskani of the Community Education Network. We have started, today will be the start of one of our components of broadcasting, and it's going to be titled CEN Show, Second Take Sports Talk. And I enjoyed podcasting, and I like expanding the podcast to elements that's beyond just what we do when we first started. And all of us are former athletes or sports fans. And I just thought that it would be great for us to delve into sports. And a real good buddy of mine, Ronnie Roberts, seemed to have a real knack of giving great analysis when it comes to sports. And so I approached him and asked him, would he be interested in doing a sports podcast? And he said he thought about it and he said, yes, he would do it. And I thought it would be good for him to do this. So today is our first show. We're going to preview the NBA playoffs, the first round. And it starts in approximately, I would say 17 minutes, 47 minutes. About 47 minutes, the NBA playoffs will start. So I appreciate Brother Mshinda showing up for this particular part of our podcasting. And so I appreciate you, Brother Ronnie, and I want to get into it. We want to see what's going on with this playoff picture, and we could take it however you want to take it. But I appreciate you, and let's rock and roll, brother. Let's roots rock and reggae too.
That's a good analogy. Good morning, everyone. We sports analysis. I look at the show's First Take and all of the different spin-offs from First Take, and the guys who are doing the sports analysis throughout America, headed up by Stephen A. Smith and his crew, and then of course you got the iconic crew of the NBA Hall of Famers and champions, Charles Barkley, Shaq, and Kenny Smith Jr. with Ernie, who is just excellent at what they do. They also have separate, each one of them, podcasts. But, what you got to understand, a podcast is basically an opinion based on some facts, based on what the podcasters themselves have experienced, based on their educational awareness, based on their sports careers, their analyses of different sports teams, players, eras, the whole 9 yards. I think one of the key things in any type of sports analysis, political analysis, or any other analysis is the ability to learn and the ability, once you get new facts, to be able to change the things that you believe, to your beliefs. Because, to give you an example, for years, I have contended that Kareem was the GOAT, and he was my GOAT, and I had to examine why he was my GOAT, and I think his career speaks for itself, pretty much. And he certainly would be in the debate of the greatest players of all time. But then a couple of years ago, I first saw the Michael Jordan series. What was it? I can't remember what they called that. Well, the series about Michael Jordan and the Bulls. That was eye-opening to me because I've never been a big Michael or even LeBron fan. I always acknowledged the fact that they were the premium players in the game, but I never could I never acknowledged them as being the so-called GOATs. And then whatever they call that Jordan thing, he spoke on it. He says, Jordan himself said, I never call myself the GOAT. Now, let's keep in mind, if any of you have followed his career, and I'm sure all of you have, all of you guys know that Michael Jordan thinks that he's the GOAT, but he's humble enough to say, I never thought I was the GOAT because of the fact I never played against Will and Russell and Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. He did play briefly against Dr. J, who he admitted was one of his models and one of the guys that he admired. But after watching that series, The Last Dance, is that what it was called? You any guys remember? I think it was The Last Dance, maybe. It was just, man, I'm sorry. But at any rate, after watching that, Michael Jordan sat down and he said himself, I'm not the GOAT. I can't be the GOAT. I never played against some of the other players. Now, he has every right, based on his career, to say that he's the GOAT. Then you got LeBron James, on the other hand, who did declare he was the GOAT after Kyrie Irving hit that shot to rescue him against the Warriors. And does he have a case? Just based on statistics alone, yeah, he's got a case. But, in my mind, I have to follow what Michael Jordan said, who probably is the greatest player ever. And I'll readily acknowledge that there is no GOAT because it's different eras. So if you're going to have a GOAT, you need to have a GOAT by eras. I don't even think LeBron James can say he's the GOAT. He's the greatest player of the 21st century. There's no question about that. But there's a man out there named Steph Curry who has beat him 3 out of 4 times in the finals. And beat the crap out of him, swept him, then had a gentleman's sweep of 4 out of 5. The one series that he did win, Kyrie Irving hit that huge shot at the end. Steph Curry averaged 18 points a game during that series, had a right leg contusion, had missed all of the games before that series. Anybody knows anything about basketball that knows that if Steph Curry is scoring 18 points a game, he's hurt. No matter how you may feel about LeBron or Steph in one way or another, neither one of them are the GOAT. There's no GOAT. And
Brother Ronnie.
Yes.
Can we get he and Brother Mshinda's take on the GOAT conversation?
I'd love to.
Okay. Brother Mshinda,
What's up? Yeah.
Can you speak on that?
Well, I'm agreement, in terms of like when you compare, it's not when you have to be objective about it, uh, when you had Oscar Robertson, Will Chamberlain was dominating 100 points, in a game, and he was unstoppable in his era. Bill Russell, 11 championships. They saw he played with white folks and this and that. You learn about him. He was a serious brother outside of the game, and
Yes, he
so
was. Mhm.
and so what I look at, and then I think when I call it a GOAT, I look at the holistic approach. If you're just looking at pure basketball, I think everybody, all of them know how to play basketball. I think that it's you could be exceptional, but if you don't have your supporting players around you, then you won't be in that conversation. Take Dominique Wilkins. That dude was unstoppable. He used to do his thing, but he was, I won't call him just a one man show. He had other players, out of respect to them. But again, we can name individuals, but when you are lined up, you have the coach, you have the people who buy into the program, and that's what it's about. Everybody's a professional athlete out there, so it's all about mental toughness or in emotional systems and spiritual systems. And if you can buy into it, then of course you're gonna be successful. You take LeBron James, he's been to what, 10 finals. He's only won 4 finals, I think, 4 or whatever, 5, 4. But the point is he's been to 10. And those guys, his supporting, out of respect to the guys that were on Cleveland with him, hell, he couldn't have made it to the finals without him. But still, his dominance and his spiritual force, I call it, his whole metaphysical presence uplifted these other guys, and it made them recognize, hey, you are an NBA player. Let's do this, you know. So when you have that kind of influence on the others. And so again, Jordan, he had influence on others as well, but he had Rodman, he had Pippen, he had other players, had some of the little white boys on there that was Tony Kukoc or whoever. They had other players. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's fair to say, I'm a Kobe fan. Kobe was another one. He made Shaq play. Called him lazy. He said, man, you need to get your mind right. So when you have that kind of level of influence, you might win some championships. So my take on the GOAT experience is that you know it's what you're doing in the game and outside the game. Your influence on your community. Your legacy. A lot of things. So I don't have a GOAT. I don't have a GOAT. I just like to recognize. Maybe there's a Mount Rushmore, and I don't think 4 heads is enough. Maybe we could put 10 heads up there, and then we can, call it a draw and have a nice day. That's how I feel about it.
I like that.
Great analogy, brother.
I like that.
Good afternoon, my brothers. I like what Mshinda was saying. If you don't have a supporting cast, then you're not in the conversation for the GOAT. Even and there are a lot of nice brothers that played that were just dynamic, like he said, Dominique being one of them that just didn't have a supporting cast. But when I look at the basketball game, I'm a little boy coming up all the way up until recently. I'm more like the American style basketball. I don't particularly care for the European style. I remember playing the European style in the Olympic Games and just how different it was, and it was a more physical American game. Defense won games. When the big games came up, it was up to your defense. All teams had about 4, 5, 7-footers just to absorb some of the fouls and to control the paint. I enjoyed that game. That's what I grew up on. People knew how to play with their back against the basket. The defensive side of the ball was given as much respect as the offensive side of the ball. When they changed over to the international European type of game where I could jump into you and the foul is on the defense, and the defense both hands. You got to be set. It's no hand usage. Down in the paint, if you got your back to it, you can't. I love Hakeem. I love to see Moses Boogie. I love to see the big man get down. I like to see small guys play big. And when you had you had your guards and stuff, if you had to give them respect, because for them to go down in the paint, sometimes you're gonna have to pay the price. Because the big men, they own the paint. But the guards back then were tougher. They had to work harder to get their shots. They were just as skilled. To say who was the greatest to ever do it, first you got to decide what era. And then you got to decide which woman is the prettiest to you. And that's so many beautiful women in the world. Just the greatest. You got to remember now when Michael came on the scene. Now listen. When the big man Wilt Chamberlain came on the scene, they changed the game to minimize his effect on the game. When Michael came in the game, they changed the game to help him. Michael never beat Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, which was beautiful. He was like poetry to watch in the paint. That white boy could get it down. And Paris, he never beat them in the series. Michael never beat the great Kareem, who is, if anybody can argue about a GOAT, just not his professional career, but from high school through college, through his whole pro career, his longevity, how he took care of his body, the people that he played against. Kareem, he has to be considered, no question. He never beat them. The first and only time he beat the great Isaiah Thomas was at the day, not even the denouement, but the end of his career. They was all hurt and they was beat up, and that was his introduction into his championship years. And he faltered after he came back from baseball after the unfortunate murder of his father, which inspired him to follow other dreams. He came and he pillaged the old Detroit team, which he despised in the first place. I think he had about 3 or 4 players on his team. Rodman, Sally, Edwards, I think it was somebody else. But yeah, he was great. But let's not overthink it. He had the media and everything else, and Nike behind him. It's just he made some shots that was just like unbelievable, last second type of stuff. We could see that when he was in North Carolina. Just he was the type of guy that he was gonna finish some things. That's a gift to be able to finish it. But personally, I think they say Michael Jordan. I think it was just he was in the right time with the media and everything else and the money and everything else behind him, and the game was changed for him. And I just think we just blow up his thing and forget about the game before him that was beautiful, could be punishing, but it was all American. So now America has joined the rest of the world. And, I haven't seen the game this year, so I'm just, I'm going to put that out. So I'm rooting for the Pistons.
You rooting for the Pistons?
But I'm here to find out something about the game. I want to be a little bit more objective about it than just my perception. Get some facts down. And I want to learn something about the game so I can beat my brother next year when the college basketball March Madness comes.
Okay, hold up.
All right.
All right, brother Ahi. Thank you. All right, brother Ronnie.
That's I love your analysis about Kareem, because who I've always thought was my GOAT, but I changed my mind for a couple of reasons. Number one, what Jordan said, there is no GOAT, because it's all different eras. If you're gonna have a GOAT, you're gonna have a GOAT of different eras. Now, with Jordan's game have translated to today and yesterday, yes, his game. I think all of the great players, with few exceptions, would have excelled in any era. If you're a great basketball player who happened to be born when I was born in the mid-40s, you're still a great basketball player, and your game would have translated to any era. I heard some old heads saying that Steph Curry couldn't have survived back in the day. Don't you think he would have adjusted, just like all the other players would have adjusted? Michael Jordan was not a great three-point shooter, but don't you think he would have made that adjustment? Of course he would have. The training techniques are different. The guys have paid nutritionists. They have paid physiologists who are traveling with them. They have chefs. So many things are different, but the great players would be great in any era. And the king himself, Mr. Mike Jordan, said there is no GOAT. So I'm gonna accept that. After watching The Last Dance, I as I said, I'd always said Kareem was my GOAT, and it was based on the sum total of his career, because I saw him play as a senior in high school. I got the privilege of seeing him play against the Master High, because I was going to school in Washington, D.C., and they played the Master High, a Catholic high school in D.C. that was very good, and Kareem played, and along with the members of Howard's football team, we went to the game, and it was just amazing to see a kid, a high school senior, doing what he was doing at that point. And first of all, it was amazing to see somebody 7'2", but he was just like a man among boys, and I knew he would be great. But and I followed his career at UCLA, and he's one of my contemporaries, so that's why he was my GOAT. Never was a big Michael Jordan fan. One of the guys mentioned Dominique. I loved Neek. I was a huge Neek fan. I mean, Neek brought everything that I liked to the game with flair, and was just, in many respects, was Jordan's equal in many, many respects. But like my man said, he did not have the surrounding cast. And you got to have the surrounding cast. Going on from segueing from Jordan's era on into the era that we're looking at now, which has been, no question about it, has been LeBron's era. He's one of the greatest players ever. If there's a GOAT conversation, he should be in it. I'm like my man said, there should be a Mount Rushmore, and 4 spots is not enough. It probably needs to be about 10, because you cannot talk about GOAT conversations and great players and talk about and not leave off this badass white boy named Larry Bird, who I saw playing college 3 times when he was playing with Indiana State. I just, in my mind, up until then, Jerry West was the best white boy I'd ever seen playing basketball, until I saw Larry Bird. And he changed my mind on that, because Larry Bird could do it all, everything that needed to be done. But, he grew up playing with brothers right there in French Lick, Indiana. He just had that dog mentality. A lot of people talk about Jason Tatum nowadays, and Jason Tatum is a tremendous basketball player, one of the best basketball players in the world, certainly a top 10. But I don't think all of the true greats have had that dog in them. Jason Tatum is a nice guy. He just doesn't have it, but the skill set is there. But, the GOAT conversation is just, it goes by era. We would have trouble, the 4 of us, if you would ask us to name our top 10 players of all time to make a squad, we would disagree. We'd have 5 or 6 players on there in common, but we disagree on the last 4 or 5, and the disagreements would be valid. Everybody has their take on who's this and who's that. Everybody has statistics and the evidence to back it up. So it's kind of a mood issue. Segueing on into the current playoffs, the favorites obviously are Oklahoma City, Boston, and Cleveland. I think that they've proven that they're in a class of their own, those 3 teams, not only by their records, but by their records against each other and against the rest of the league. If I were to come up with a favorite to win the title this year, I'd say you have to beat the champion first. And the champion is the Boston Celtics. Until somebody can beat Boston, I think this is just a moot discussion. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I live in Oklahoma City, and I'm a Thunder season ticket holder, and I will be at the game tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, posted up in my spot. Las Vegas has slightly favored the Thunder to win the whole thing. Do I think the Thunder can win? Yes. If everything goes according to plan. Do I think the Thunder can lose? Yes. Who do I think the Thunder can lose to? The Boston Celtics. Why do I think the Thunder can lose to the Boston Celtics? Simply because you usually need to get there and fail before you can get over the top. If you remember when Jason Tatum came into the league and then Jaylen Brown a year later, or was it vice versa? they've been in the mix every year for 4 or 5 years. Finally got to the finals in 2022, and they were beaten by Golden State because Golden State was a veteran team, got into their heads. They weren't a better team, but they were a veteran team who had been there and done that on many occasions. And what they did was, and a lot of people think when they say Golden State, they think Steph and Clay and the shooting. Well, what they tend to forget is that Golden State had the number 1 or 2 defense in the NBA for all 4 of their championships. They were never rated lower than 3rd. In any of those years, they won the championship. And that's what a lot of people forget. I can remember Charles Barkley, who I've always said, if Charles Barkley and Kendrick Perkins, whoever they choose the other team. Because they have a built-in prejudice. And, Charles Barkley stated on national TV many times, a jump shooting team will never win the NBA championship. Well, Shaq, who was a big fan of Steph Curry, as I am, my favorite player, he and Kevin Durant are my favorite players in the world. Shaq said to Chuck, you forget they got the best defense in the league. And defense wins championships. Which is why I favor Boston and Oklahoma City, because they have the best defenses in the league. Boston, as long as they can keep Kristaps Porzingis on the floor, I don't think they can be stopped, even by us, the Oklahoma City Thunder. But we're the one team that can do something with them, in my mind. Others may think different. Mm-hmm.
I want to see if you want to go through each of these.
Yes. Yes, I want to go. Let me go through the matchups first.
Okay.
The first rounds, pretty much givens. You got 1 and 8. 8 has no chance. We've beat, say, the Thunder have beat Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis has not beaten us since 2022. Can they steal a game? Yeah. 4-1 or 4-0 for sure on that one. That's an easy call. Because where Memphis is weak, we're strong. And plus, their very best player, who is John Morant, not Jaren Jackson, is physically limited because he's hurt and he stays hurt. But I don't think they have a chance. Cleveland and the Miami Heat, I'll give them a game. No more. No more. You remember these homes? The thing with the 1-8 match is you start out on the road for 2 games, you fall in the hole 2-0, and then they go home and still win at your pad. Maybe you can win the 3rd game. But I don't see either one of these series going past 5 games. Now, you get to the 2-7. I'm going to do the 2-7s next. You got the Houston Rockets against the Golden State Warriors. Las Vegas is favored the Warriors. And that ain't but for one reason in the world, and that's a guy named Wardell Stephen Curry. The Rockets should on paper beat Golden State. But I think that Golden State will steal that series. All of these are best of 7s, 4-3. They'll win the best 4 out of 7. I think Golden State can steal one in Houston and can hold serve at home maybe in some kind of way win this series. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Rockets won. The Rockets' key issue to me is they don't have a true go-to player. They have an all-star in Alperen Sengun, the young center. Jalen Green is a transcendent talent, but he's still taking bad shots, still is developing his game. And he has all-star talent, and I expect him to be an all-star in the future, but he's not now. So between Draymond Green getting into their heads and the great Jimmy Butler, who continues to amaze me with his playoff ability and his disability overall, I say Golden State has a shot to upset the Rockets, but I wouldn't be surprised. On the other side of the bracket, Boston Celtics and Orlando. Orlando, again, may steal a game, but they are doomed. Nowhere in the world they can beat the Boston Celtics. My caveat there, again, is Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis makes Boston different. He makes Boston unbeatable when he's functioning and playing well with all of the weapons they have. Some reason I hope I don't offend anybody. Boston seems to always come up with the best white guys in the dang world. That boy Peyton Pritchard off the bench, who very well may be sixth man of the year, has vision, can just see, and is a heck of a player. They got another guy, Sam Hauser, over there off the bench. So they get maximum production out of who they have. They got a good young coach. They are the champions. And before somebody can say that they're the champions or talk about being the champions, you got to beat the champions. So I'm favoring Orlando. I'm favoring the Celtics to either sweep them or 4-1. Now, get to the middle series. The 4-5 series can always be the toughest because these teams are pretty much equal. They've seen each other over and over again, and they're going to see each other again. They know each other. There's nothing to hide. So 4 and 5 on this side is, was that Indiana? That's the Denver and the Nuggets from the West. No, that's Denver and who? Denver and the Clippers. Ooh. Let me speak about Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the great players ever. Career has been derailed by injuries, but we got to remember Kawhi is a two-time champion. Kawhi is as good as any small forward or three in the league. That's including Jason Tatum, LeBron, KD, any threes you can name of. When he's on and healthy, he's as good as any of those people. And he plays both sides of the ball. If Kawhi's healthy, Denver's in trouble. Whole league might be, for that matter. James Harden, who I've been critical of all throughout the years because of his tendency to fold in the playoffs. You know, I looked at him as just a scorer. There's another guy I saw play in high school. But he's a transcendent player himself and has had a great year. He's playing as good a basketball as I've ever seen him play. And he held the Clippers together while Kawhi was out. Norman Powell has stepped up his game. Ivica Zubac, who the Lakers just simply gave away, and the Lakers still looking for a center. That's a whole nother story. The Lakers trading away players who are useful. Is really, really good in pick and roll, and is somebody that can deal with Jokic one-on-one. So that should be a great series. By the way, I don't think there's any argument about Nikola Jokic being the best basketball player in the world at this point. For a center to average a triple-double and to shoot well over 50% from the field, was leading the league in three-point shooting until about February, percentage-wise, just unreal. And for a guy that can't jump any higher than Rigo and myself at this point. But just a transcendent basketball player. On the other side of the bracket, you got Indiana Pacers. By the way, I'm picking the Clippers to win that series. And I think it'll go 4-2 maybe. It may go 7, but I see the Clippers winning that. On the other side of the bracket, you got the Indiana Pacers and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Pacers can beat the Bucks if Dame is not Dame. If Dame is not healthy, the Pacers can win that series. I don't think that the Bucks can get out of the first round without Dame. That's my take on it. Dame is supposed to be playing, so that series is a toss-up. I don't know who will win, but I do know that it will be determinant on the health of Dame Lillard. Pretty even match. Getting over to the other side, you got the Lakers and the Timberwolves. Las Vegas again, and the whole basketball world is all over the Lakers. I've even heard some insane people tell me the Lakers, who, by the way, I have tattooed on my arm, was my first basketball love, and it's still a love of mine. They're not the first anymore. But the Los Angeles Lakers and the Timberwolves, the Lakers should win that series. Is it a wrap? No. The Lakers have a glaring weakness. They don't have a center. They don't have a center. There are two guards. Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic are targets for every team in the league on defense. Luka doesn't even try. Reeves competes, and he competes his ass off. But as I've said about many Caucasian basketball players, white basketball players, whatever you want to call them, one of their weaknesses on defense, why so many of them are weak on defense, is they don't have great lateral quickness to stay in front of people. And it's just, I don't I'm not saying that there's a difference in the races, but we know that there is as far as athletic ability is concerned. I just have not seen many white players with great lateral quickness to be able to stay in front of people. Luka's a 6'7" guard who weighs 230, and he basically is a point guard. Now, there's no 6'7", 230-pound point guards in the league. How can he cover these small point guards? Well, they never put him on them. They usually put him on a 2 or a 3. He can't cover them either. And he doesn't have the desire to play defense. Defense is, first of all, my man, our host was a great defensive player when he played, but he wanted to be a great defensive player. You gotta want to play defense. Defense starts with desire and just wanting to lock your man up. He doesn't want to do that. He takes up all his energy scoring with the ball in his hands. He is a seminal offensive player. I don't know that we've seen a guy with his skill set and his size playing point guard, with the exception of Magic Johnson. He does things better than Magic. He's definitely a better shooter. His handles are equal. His passing is just incredible. I mean, he has an incredible basketball IQ. He reminds me so much of Magic that it's not even funny, but Magic was never a liability on defense, even though they would use Byron Scott or who the other guard was to guard the little point guards, because guys like Kevin Johnson and Mark Price used to just wear Magic's butt out because he couldn't stay in front of him. But Magic competed, and the Lakers were small enough, and the Lakers would always put Byron Scott or whoever they started at the other guard on the point guards.
They always had Cooper too.
Yeah, they had Coop too. So they had other people to put on him to hide him. There's no hiding Luka, because you got on the other side, you got two white boys starting at the guard. And Austin Reeves, probably the best the best number 3 man in the league. These guys can shoot it, they can pad it, they have high basketball IQs, but they can't defend. So who's gonna do anything with Ant-Man? Ant-Man is probably gonna kill him, but Ant-Man can't do it by himself. Plus they have Rudy Gobert in the middle to clog the paint up and literally neutralize Mr. Jackson Hayes, whoever they put out there in the middle. And the Lakers are really best when Jackson Hayes is off the floor. So Lakers could probably eat that series out. It'll be close. Knicks and the Detroit Pistons, that might be the best opening round match there is. You got the Knicks with Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. They have just a heck of a roster. They've been run to the ground by Tibbs, won't play as reserves, but that's a good matchup. Detroit Pistons, up and coming young team, led by Cade Cunningham. That's a toss-up. I don't know who's going to win that series. I don't know that Jalen Brunson is 100% healthy. I suspect that he's not. I don't think that realistically the Knicks defense is strong enough for them to be able to overcome Detroit. That's a toss-up. I can't call that one at all.
Let's go Pistons. Let's go, baby.
I love to see the Pistons win that.
Yes.
Myself. I mean, personally, I'm a fan. I always like underdogs. The Pistons have been down for so long. They happen to be led by a guy that went to one of my alma maters.
Iowa State.
Cade Cunningham was from Oklahoma State.
Oh, it was Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, which is where one of my alma maters. I went to school there for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. But that's a toss-up. I don't know who's going to win that series. Let me say this one last thing. Who usually wins the NBA championship every year? The number one factor that you have to consider, guys, is health.
Is what?
Health.
Health. Oh, yeah, health. Yeah.
Health is number one. If you're healthy, if your key players are all healthy and don't miss significant times, then you can make a judgment. Boston and Oklahoma City have the depth to have key guys miss games. They're the only teams that can do that. Cleveland, too, can do that as well. Oklahoma City has the deepest bench, period, in the NBA. There's not even a second. They won 3 of their last 10 games, and none of their top 6 people played. Yes, they were against some of the bottom rung teams in the league. But let me tell you something that Oklahoma City also did beside that. The Thunder swept 22 teams this year. They won 68 games and lost 14. They swept 22 teams. Oklahoma City's 14 losses have come against 8 teams. The team that we feared most here in Oklahoma City got knocked out last night. That's the Dallas Mavericks. That's the only team that beat Oklahoma City 3 times this year. Oklahoma City only lost back-to-back games twice all year. Who beat them? Of their 14 losses, 3 were by the Mavericks. They gone, and we're glad to see them gone because it's just a matchup issue. The Nuggets beat us twice. The Rockets beat us twice. The Timberwolves beat us twice. The Warriors beat us twice. Then we lost once to the Cavaliers, the Lakers, and the Spurs. We swept the Celtics. But we just played them twice, but we swept them. And I saw us play all of those teams. And we were just the best team on the floor in every game. But that's different. The playoffs are a whole different ball game. Our guys are young. Very, very young. You can count on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, by the way, who will be the MVP. He's going to get his. You can't stop him. But it's what J-Dub and Jalen Williams does, who is our second All-Star. If he's good, he averages 20 points a game, we're not going to be stopped. We have the bigs, we have the bench, but we don't have what Boston has, and that's championship DNA. And to get to be a champion, Boston suffered. Boston got knocked on the head. They got embarrassed by Golden State. We may need to go there and lose before we know how to come back and win into next year. So that's my take on it. I'm saying it's Oklahoma City and Boston all the way. I don't think Cleveland has a shot to beat Boston. I don't see anybody in the West that can touch us, including the Lakers. We want the Lakers. We want them.
Well, listen, we want to get some words from Brother Ahi and Brother Mshinda if they want to say something. But let me say this. And I've been a basketball head all of my life as far as a participant, and I'm still going to that gym, putting up shots at least, and I do play in the league, and I hope to be able to be effective soon come. But I know this game as far as the technical side of it, the technique, the fundamentals of basketball. And I met Brother Ronnie, and we talked basketball, and he's a straight shooter about what he knows and what he think he knows. And I know basketball. And so when I don't watch it all that much, because I tell everybody that I'd rather play it than watch it. I do watch it, but not that much. And anytime I wanted to know about the NBA in the last last 7 years, 8 years, I call Brother Ronnie to get the update on what's going on, because to me, his analysis is point on most of the time. And so it's fitting that we have this show, because I don't care what you say about these other analysts, Brother Ronnie he's good at what he's doing when he's talking basketball. So I want to get Ahi and Brother Mshinda's take on what he talked about and their own take. And then we got a few minutes before the first game start, but that's not my concern. But I do want to hear from Brother Ahi and Brother Mshinda. So Brother Ahi, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just learning something. It's very detailed, and that's one of the reasons I'm tuning in. So I'll just shut my mouth and I'll learn something. Okay.
All right, Brother Ahi. Brother Mshinda.
Yeah, like I said, that was a good analysis by Brother Roberts. You know, I don't, it's not about disagreement, because it's all it is everything is hypothetical, so I'm not gonna, you know, force the issue about who's gonna win what. But statistically speaking, on paper, yeah, there are teams on paper that, have, proven that they can play, their winning record versus their losing record. I mean, they're losing and so forth. So, but the way my take on it is this, I'm an athlete from birth, probably. I didn't play collegiate ball or anything. I was a football player. I played all sports, coming up as a kid, and I don't think I felt nobody could beat me, and that's my attitude to this day. Of course, I'm not silly, of course, there are people that are gonna beat you. There, even when I was younger, I'm speaking, you find out that yeah, if you don't groom your game and continue to excel and elevate your game in anything, people will run you over, So I don't think I've been ran over. I just know when to bow out and say, well, this is not for me. I'm done with this particular level or whatever. I had my fun doing whatever I did in my life, but it doesn't take away from my killer instinct, my dog, as as Brother Robert said, the dog in you, and the competitive nature. So uh, not just to touch on the games. I know Milwaukee Lillard. He might be back in the second game or the third game. He's been cleared from that with deep vein thrombosis. He's off the blood thinners, but he's not playing. I don't think in the first game. It might be the second game. Um, that's what's reported. Um, that's why the Pacers are favored by about 5.5. And you got to watch out for the Pacers because they've been playing good ball in the second half, and I'll leave it at that. Um, there's other teams like I say Boston. We don't have to talk about Boston. Boston came back with basically the same team, and they're the defending champs. And I'm in agreement there where you got to beat the champ. You have to dethrone the champion. So that's that. So we'll leave Boston there. Cleveland, on the other hand, they got a few dogs on their team, and so you got to watch. You got to watch out for Cleveland. You got to watch out for the brother. I guess he was on Utah, and now he's on Cleveland. And
Spider.
but I tell you, yeah, but I'll be honest. He reminds me. To me. He he don't have that ultimate dog in him either. That's my opinion. Because when he's with Utah, he's got the fundamentals. He can shoot, but he's something's missing. Something's missing to me. But maybe I haven't seen enough Cleveland games to say, oh man, you stupid. The dude is off the charts. But I just don't feel his energy all the way. So I'll leave him over there. So I don't look at Cleveland. So what I'm winding down to is the other teams. OKC, they're another one. Young team, they got some guys that can ball. They got continuity. Uh, really and truthfully, yeah, you're gonna have to beat them guys because they run all day. They run all day, and they can shoot. They can play defense. So they're in a position. They're in their position where they're at for a reason. So no, all hats off to them and respect to them. But again, being a Laker fan, and I'll just cut to the chase. I don't. I'm not biased. Maybe slightly. You'd be lying if because I'm a Laker fan. I was born and raised in Compton. I grew up watching the Lakers on TV, Channel 9, all that back in the day. But went to very few games because every game was on TV. I'd rather watch it on TV. I don't have to be in a crowd nowhere. That's just me. But at the end of the day, uh, you got a guy that Luka Doncic was in the championship 23-24 season. Took the Mavericks there. Of course, Kyrie Irving was there, but at the end of the day, made it to the championship. So my thoughts are, if he did it with that, See, because LeBron James is still playing like LeBron James. So if you got two dudes like that on a team, I'm just looking at any other team. It's like, when we was kids on the playground, you say, hey, I got Roberts, I got Masaki, I got Ahi, I got Brother Mshinda. We used to pick, man. So you got LeBron and Luca on the same team, you know, I don't care. Now, as far as defense go, I don't worry about that because that's not that his. It's not that he don't play defense because I've seen him play defense. I've seen him take the ball or force a situation. That's what Nico Harrison or whatever they say. Oh, he didn't want to work out. Them guys ain't going to work out. Them guys are going to be thick white boys. They're going to be fat, looking slow. Babe Ruth used to smoke a lot of cigarettes. Was a big old fat dude. Used to pitch and hit. And so he was a killer. That's all I'm saying. When you're a killer, you're a killer. And that's the bottom line. So I'm looking at Luca. I'm saying and we got to see a few more games. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying the dude is from Slovenia. This dude, they have a different approach. They have a whole different mindset. These cats come out to come out of the I don't know what you call it. They come out the hood too, so to speak. And so the point I'm making is it's some unknowns there. It's some unknowns there. Like Brother Ahi said, they got some the Euro. They get to do different little steps that they get away with, look like they're traveling and all that kind of stuff. I hear that, but the game is the game. The current game situation is what it is. And so Luca plays bigger than he plays because when he steps back, he's shooting over 7-footers. He's shooting over 6'10" guys that be coming out trying to, he knows how to step back and he arcs that ball. That's crazy. So all I can say is he's like first in when he deal with that what they call it. What was it called? They call it drop coverage, where he's number one in that, shooting, dealing with drop coverage. He's a off he scores his the times that he scores is number one in the league off of drop coverage. So my point is you better watch it. That's all I'm saying. They beat Thunder by 27 points in OKC one day, and then the 2 days later they got their butt whopped, but they played 2 days later in OKC. So I get it. So, but for me to see that you went down to their home, and again, I like OKC. Don't get me wrong. I like these young brothers, man. They do, and I ain't bashing them. But when I saw that, so my analysis say that traditionally, and I'm gonna close by saying traditionally, when it comes to the playoffs, and the Lakers have made it to the third position, you just better watch out for them because of the fact that they got 17 championships. And when they make it, when they make it near the top, you better watch them. Now it's gonna be a good series. You guys, I want y'all to enjoy it. I'm gonna enjoy it. Appreciate the podcast and great contributions from everybody today.
Thank you, Brother Mshinda. Brother Ronnie.
Yes, sir.
Brother Ronnie, last words.
There's a lot of people that says opinions are like assholes. They all smell. We could talk about this forever, and there's always X factors. Sports is the great unknown here. Sports is entertainment nowadays because every one of these guys and every one of these teams we're talking about are led by multimillionaires. It's a whole different take. These people are not like you and me. They're multimillionaires. Camaraderie, just good coaching, breaks, and one of the key factors in any sporting event at the highest level is what version of your team shows up on a given day. That's the one factor that a lot of analysts overlook. If the best version of the Lakers shows up, when they're making their shots, They are just incredible. But when they're not making their shots, is when their defense needs to be there to get them through the lulls. And when that game, I was at both of those Laker games. In that first game, they shot 58% from three. When you shoot like that from three, you're going to beat anybody in the league. The next game, they shot 27% from three. It's a wrap. They didn't have a chance. So they're going to have to shoot lights out, particularly Luka and Austin Reeves. Because I don't think LeBron is 100%. I'm certain that he's not. But he's such a great warrior and is so used to and knows how to play at less than 100%. Did we get back to that health thing I talked about? What hurts LeBron now? LeBron used to be one of the better defenders in the league. Now he's a help defender. He can't. He's not. Not only is Reeves and Luka weak on defense, LeBron is not what he used to be on defense. Rui Hachimura has got a bad leg. Jackson Hayes weighs 210 pounds and trying to play the post, and he's going to be off the floor for major minutes. So they're going to have to get incredible shooting in order to have any chance. Can they get that? Yes, they can. But again, guys, it's what version of each of these teams shows up. That a lot of that has to do with coaching. A lot of that has to do with veteran leadership. A lot of that has to do with camaraderie and everybody knowing their roles and playing their roles to the max. So these factors are also factors that determine who wins and who loses. If the best version of each of these teams shows up, the Boston Celtics will be the NBA champion because they have the most weapons. The Lakers could get to the finals against the Thunder. The Lakers also could lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. They also could lose to them. They could revert to their worst habits. They've had some times this year where they looked awful. When they're not making shots, they're not very good. But you can say that about any basketball team in the world. When they're not making shots, they're not going to win. Unless you shoot the ball well and defend, you won't be the NBA champion. I just don't see that coming from my Lakers, who I love from the bottom of my heart, and I used to ride and die with the Lakers. I still do to a degree, but be honest with you, the Lakers have not been the same to me since Kobe left. I was a Kobe fan. I was a Magic fan. I was a Kareem fan. I'm still a Laker fan, but I've never, as I said before earlier, I've never been a LeBron fan, even though I acknowledge his greatness. Can they do it? Sure they can. He's got the ability to drag them close to the top, not to the top. I think that if LeBron and the Lakers were in the East, yeah, they'd be in the mix. West is just too stacked. This is just my opinions. This is from what I've seen. I've been to 25 NBA games this year watching the Thunder. I'm going to all of the playoff games. One of you guys mentioned to me, I think it was Brother Mshinda mentioned the fact that he doesn't need to be there to see it. I used to think that too, and I didn't really get an appreciation of just how good these guys were until I actually went to a game. The year I moved to LA in 2000, the Lakers played the last game at the Forum before the season started, before they moved into Staples Center, which is now CryptoCom. I went down on the floor and stood up against and mingled around with some of the players. I looked at Shaq. I thought, I'd never seen a man that big in my life. But Shaq wasn't the one who was really blowing my mind. It was all the rest of the guys. They were just so tall and big. And Rigo and I were talking about, we went to a high school game the other day and the players seemed so little earlier this year. And then you get down on the floor and you say, damn, these guys are really big. Well, every team in this playoffs, it's about 5 of them that have a legitimate shot. Cleveland, Boston, and the Thunder, of course. And then right below them, the Lakers and the Warriors. And the only reason that I'm including the Lakers and Warriors in that top 5 is because of veteran leadership. is because of they are both led by guys who have 4 rings. Stephen Curry and LeBron have 4 rings. They've been there. So they can pull out wins that they shouldn't really pull out because of veteran leadership and been there, done that. But that can only take you so far. And I think that the Lakers are a center away from really competing for a championship again. That's just my opinion. I just haven't seen a team be able to win an NBA championship without a passable center. If they had Ivica Zubac, who they gave away for nothing, they'd be the favorites. My thoughts.
All
So,
right.
health and injury, health and who shows up.
Yeah.
Looking forward to doing this again, guys.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it too. And I want to say this before we go. I listened to some of those other podcasts. Well, not really the podcast, but analysis on ESPN, these little clips. And I could safely say that the information that you're providing, Brother Ronnie, it's compatible to what they talk about, or even better. So I'm looking forward to doing this because the Community Education Network is definitely educational, and the people that's involved, hey, the people that's involved in the Community Education Network, we're not popular, but we're present. I'll tell you that. And I can't wait to do this again. I appreciate you, Brother Ronnie, Brother Ahi, and Brother Mshinda, for you guys' valuable time, because I know your time is valuable. And I love this and I enjoy it. So we're going to take our pause until we meet next time. We're coming back.
All right.
All right. Each one teach one in Conscious Corner and Second Take Sports Talk. All right.
Peace out.
Have a great one.